Hey, this is Daryl and welcome back to my channel. Hey, if you're an individual who is looking to change your relationship with alcohol, this video is for you. In this video, I'm going to share 9 tips on how to cut back on your drinking. So stay tuned. Okay, so I want to share 9 tips. Here's tip number 1. Set a realistic goal. Here's the deal. I've been coaching people all over the world for the last 14 years. And one of the most powerful techniques and strategies, which is also one of the easiest to do, set a goal. Set a realistic goal. So I'm not sure where you are right now with your relationship with alcohol. But if you have had one where it's been months and days and years of every day there's been alcohol part of your life, cold turkey stopping tomorrow, it could happen, absolutely. But maybe the realistic goal for you is to step back, look at where you are with your current relationship with alcohol. And then maybe the realistic goal is to take it and drop it down by say 50%. That would be huge. So realistic, you want to believe in yourself, okay? And part of this process to changing your life is your belief will get bigger and bigger and bigger. So if you have a mountain, to so to speak, a metaphor to get over to change your relationship with alcohol, start with some baby steps. Just start small. This is okay. And then as you start getting some momentum going, you start getting that confidence starts going up and you start believing more in yourself. You start seeing results. And the key thing for a lot of people with their relationship with alcohol is their belief in themselves that they can trust themselves. So there's too many times of failed attempts that they almost come in with saying, I'm probably gonna fail anyways. They set themselves up to fail. So set a realistic goal, whatever that looks like for you. That's step number 1. Okay, tip number 2, count your drinks. So if you have obviously a social gathering, you're going out, put a limit on how many drinks you're gonna have. And the way you do that is you count your drinks. So however you wanna do that, if you put a limit and say you're only gonna have no more than 5 drinks, then you need to know where you're at and you need to be counting your drinks. So hopefully you can do that in your head. If you need to put something like in your pocket, so if you had a bottle of beer and you had the actual cap, you can put that in your pocket so there's no excuses of going, oh, I think I had 2 or I think I had 3. You can reach your hand in your pocket, you could pull out how many caps you have and go, oh, I guess I did have 3. And then you start slowing it down. But when you and you start counting your drinks, then your conscious mind is very alert to what's going on and what the rest of the night will look like for you. So that's tip number 2. Simply just count your drinks. Okay, tip number 3 is measure your drinks. You heard me right, measure your drinks. Now, if you are a beer drinker and you have a bottle of beer or a can of beer, it's already measured for you. However, if you're a wine drinker, well, I've seen some pretty big glasses of wine and a lot of jokes out there. You know, this glass is like this big. Where's my hands? There they go. So you need to measure your drinks and even measure your mixed drinks. So you really keep them to a reasonable amount. And even on for beer, if you go to obviously an establishment, a bar, a restaurant, typically they're gonna fill them all the way up, but you can measure them saying, well, what sizes do you have? And maybe you take the smaller size. So that's a tip, measure your drinks. Okay, tip number 4 is pace yourself. This is something that I noticed that I was a thoroughbred. I was always out in front. And I always noticed that I was on drink 3 or 4 when everybody else was just maybe finishing their first. So if you can relate to that, pacing yourself is really, really critically important here. So how do you pace yourself? Well, let's just say you have a drink and then you have a glass of water. And I would suggest drink that glass of water the same amount of time, or if not slower than your drink. So you're just pacing yourself. You're slowing things down a little bit. So that's probably the easiest thing to do, is in between a drink, you have some water. Or if you don't want to have water, you can have, sparkling water, soda water. You can have anything else that's just not an alcohol beverage in between your drinks. And that's going to also help fill you up a little bit. It naturally will slow that pace down, which is really, really important to help cutting back on your drinking. That is tip number 4. Okay, tip number 5 is space your drinks. Now, this is very similar to tip number 4, which was pace your drinks. And I already mentioned, when you want to space your drinks, I already mentioned this in tip 4, is have another non-alcoholic drink in between. Another way of spacing is time. So you have one drink for every hour. That might really push you and stretch you, but then you're going to slow down on the drink you have, because you know that this is the hour that you have your drink, and then if you finish it too fast, you're going to have a big gap. Maybe you need to play that a little bit. Maybe an hour will stretch you. Maybe you need to go 45 minutes. This is something you can set that goal, like one of the first tip I mentioned. That would be a specific goal that you could have, would be an hour per drink. So you can kind of mix and match these tips to make them work for you. So that was tip number 5, which was space your drinks. Okay, tip number 6 is don't forget to eat. And this is critically important here. Now, this one you gotta be careful with. So what happens for a lot of people is they'll start consuming alcohol on an empty stomach. Then they realize that they need to eat. And at that point, they're really not in the spot they go, oh, I want to eat healthy food. They're most likely going to eat salty foods, fatty foods, high carb foods, and then the weight gain is going to happen on top of the alcohol. So I'm not sending a message there. What I'm saying is I would eat before you know you're going out. You get all these other tips that you're going to be incorporating, and eat healthy food. So don't forget to eat. Eat before you go out. You have all your other goals. You're going to be pacing. You're going to be counting. You got all these tips you're going to be incorporating. So eat healthy food, and you're going to drink less. You're going to feel a lot better. So tip number 6 is don't forget to eat. Tip number 7 is avoid your triggers. And what I mean by that is things will trigger you to want to drink. A very common trigger is coming home after work and either stopping and getting that bottle of wine that you're going to have, later on as you get home. So how do you avoid that? Take a different route. Break things up. Break up that pattern that you have. This one's a little bit deeper, because the chances are the longer your relationship with alcohol, the higher the probability of having a lot of triggers. So what I highly recommend for this is you need to pay attention to what are the triggers. What's triggering me to want to have some alcohol? And for a lot of people, it's the end of the workday. It's going home. It's like as they're heading home, that trigger is starting to happen already, and that's what then they will stop. They'll get alcohol, and then they'll go home. So one way to avoid this is take a different route. If you have alcohol, and this is another one, this is a little bonus tip, is have all alcohol out of your house, right? So reason why that's important is, say you take a different route. Yes, you don't stop and get that, that bottle of wine, but you also, so you avoided that trigger, but you also know that you have alcohol at home. So you're still gonna end up, fulfilling that trigger by drinking when you get home. So this one, like I said, is a little bit deeper, because the longer the relationship you've had with alcohol, you've got a lot of triggers. Some of these triggers you're not even probably aware of anymore. So what I mean by a trigger is something like the switch is flipped, and you're like that when it's switched, it's I want to drink, right? So this awareness of what are those triggers is really important, and that will be a future video of mine, all right? But in this tip is avoid triggers that make you want to drink. Okay, tip number 8, do something else. What I mean by that is we're very structured, we're creatures of habit, and shake it up a little bit. If you're looking to not go right home, like in my previous tip on triggers, go for a walk at the park. Go work out. Just do something different. Something that will make something better for you, something that hopefully will get you excited or you'll be excited about doing. You may need to change things up a little bit here. You may need to create a list of what that is, like what does doing something different look like. A lot of people that have that relationship with alcohol, they're drinking alone, they're bored, they're not getting out, they're not doing anything different. So create a list of activities that you can be doing, whether it's going out for a walk, whether it's going to visit some friends that don't drink, going to the library, going to the movie, going to the mall, just reading a book somewhere at a coffee shop, just hanging out with maybe some different people, getting involved, bringing back some old hobbies or sports you enjoyed. I mean, there's a huge list of things that you can create that are healthy for you and that'll keep you sober and keep you focused on different things. That's what I mean by this tip, is do something different. Okay, tip number 9 and the last tip for this video is learn how to say no. No is one of the most powerful techniques or strategies to drink less. But no is also one of the most difficult to implement. But you gotta start. If you want to cut back, you want to change your relationship with alcohol, you need to start saying no. So when somebody invites you out and to go have a drink after work or on the weekend or any given time, you're gonna have to say, no, I'm good, I pass, hey, thanks a lot. And you might get some feedback you don't want to hear, especially depends on the relationship you have with this person. They might be like, what? And they'll start throwing daggers at you that you might not expect. That's where you need to stay strong. So saying no, and if I were to add to this tip, I'd be like, hey, stay strong with what you're gonna own. Own that no, because they may come at you and try to break you down. So you say, all right, I guess so, let's do it. So if you're looking to cut back on your alcohol and shift your relationship with alcohol, this tip of learning to say no can really take you, and you're gonna have to, if you're serious about shifting that relationship, you're gonna have to learn how to say no and own it. Don't let anybody shift you. Hey, I hope you liked this video. If you did, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. And once again, feel free to subscribe. Then when I upload another video, you'll be notified. And below in the description area, I want you to check out my online course. This is for people who are really committed and want to create a change with their relationship with alcohol. I have an online course, Lose the Booze for 30 days. This thing is locked and loaded. It's a proven system that will work. You don't need to think about what's next. And it's online. You'll see all the benefits. So check out in the description area. There's a link there. You can go learn more. And if you're really serious, jump on and get in that course today. All right, thank you. I look forward to seeing you in my next video.